My brother actually supports Chelsea, not Arsenal.
Why did you want to make that move from, okay, I've grown up as an Arsenal fan, do I actually want to work in the game or not?
I think this could be a very exciting end to the season, Luce.
Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans Fanzone with me, Luce. I hope you're all good. I'm really excited about this chat, and I feel like we've already, just off me and Romario, obviously the guest you'll see on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube, we've just been speaking a little bit, and I'm sort of like, oh my god, this is going to be such a good episode, because obviously we work with each other, but I feel like I've never really actually had a proper chat with you about, like, why do you actually support Arsenal? Like, we more would either talk about just random scores that have happened. Like, I remember seeing you in the office after that United result, which don't want to talk about that, but we'll probably get into that in a bit. But obviously, yeah, I know you through the TalkSport lens of, like, both of us working there. But I'm kind of just excited to find out why you actually support Arsenal and sort of your journey with the sports media industry. So the question that I ask every guest, the first question, is why Arsenal? So just talk me through how you got into supporting Arsenal.
Well, Lucy, firstly, thank you for having me on the pod. Been looking forward to this for a few weeks now. Why Arsenal? My mum, to be honest. It's my mum's club, my uncle's club. They grew up supporting, watching Arsenal. I remember the 03-04 blue away kit that my mum had with Henry on the back. And that kit, to be honest, my mum, just growing up hearing them scream support for Arsenal, that's sort of what got me into it. And yeah, man, I've just always loved Arsenal. It's always just connected with me. My mum obviously had me and my brother playing football from young. My brother actually supports Chelsea, not Arsenal, which is a weird one. I know, Lucy. I know. My brother, like, I like being different, but my brother excels in being different, and he couldn't support the same team as us. So he supports Chelsea. I chose Arsenal, stuck with my mum. I'm a mummy's boy. So, yeah, that's the reason why I'm an Arsenal fan, man.
Sorry, I was not expecting that, like, at all. So what does that look like on a sort of London derby day, like when it's Arsenal v Chelsea? What does your household actually look like?
Well, it was tough growing up, Lucy, because I'm not sure how old you are. You're younger than me, I know that. But growing up, Drogba was just slapping us, man. Week to week, it was just like, well, not week to week, but every season it felt like Drogba, Lampard, Ashley Cole when he moved eventually. It was not nice, I'll be honest. There wasn't a lot of times. It's not like the Arsenal now where we beat Chelsea every season. We were not that good compared to Chelsea, so it wasn't pretty. It was just me pretty much crying and my brother laughing and my mum telling me it's going to be all right. Me asking my mum why she chose Arsenal and not Chelsea. So, but I stayed loyal, Lucy. That's what matters. I stayed loyal to the club. I'm still a Gooner now. So yeah, it was weird times, like me and my brother supporting opposite teams, but it actually felt right because you always have that sort of sibling rivalry. So him supporting one team, me supporting another, us playing FIFA, Pro Evo, always playing against each other. It was just like constant competition, to be honest.
And you know what? I feel like the loyalty that you've had over the years is slowly paying off, which obviously we're going to chat about in a bit at Arsenal right now, because I feel like it's sort of going all right. I feel like I need to get your whole family on this pod and just be like, firstly to your brother, why not Arsenal? That would be the first question.
Yeah.
And then obviously to your mum, because she's the reason why you support Arsenal. And like you said, you were questioning why does she support Arsenal. But ultimately, I feel like you've actually prepared yourself quite nicely by growing up in a household with mixed clubs. Because when any other fan chats to Arsenal fans, and I feel like the narratives, we talk about it a lot with the media and everything, they're always like, oh, are Arsenal going to like bottle it? Are they going to do this, that and the other? And it's always that sort of view. But you've almost like grown the thick skin already. You're like, no, I've had that banter from day one with my brother, so it's sort of like second nature. So I feel like you're probably the best in those arguments. I need to make sure that if anyone at work or anyone chats to me, I'll be like, wait, Romario, come here.
Shout me, Lucy. Because you know what's funny? I never looked at it like that, but it's so true. Like, even like there was points when I mentioned we playing FIFA or Pro Evo, and I wouldn't even want to be Arsenal, especially when Henry left. Like, this is such a weird chat because I have never really thought about this, but when Henry left, like, I sort of wasn't disassociated with Arsenal, but it didn't feel the same. Like, Thierry Henry, you asked me why I support Arsenal. He was a big reason. Obviously, number 14. 14's my lucky number now. I use it on a lot of my like emails or usernames. So when he left, it was a little bit like, I don't know, like, why am I supporting Arsenal and not Chelsea? And me and my brother's best mates had a brother my age and a older brother my brother's age, and they supported Chelsea as well. I remember they had a joint birthday, their 16th, and there was a Chelsea cake. And I'm looking at the Chelsea cake like, am I supposed to be a Chelsea fan? Like, it was weird, but
Tempted whether you should eat it or not, like.
yeah, like, am I a bad Arsenal fan if I have a slice? I had a couple
Literally.
slices. I had a couple. But it's funny you say that, Luce. I've been sort of blooded to deal with rival fans pointing at you. Funny story, actually. The brothers I just mentioned, the Chelsea family, their dad, huge Chelsea fan, season ticket holder, had like a patch of Stamford Bridge, that old pitch, like hung up on their wall.
Oh my God.
And I know, I remember the 2006-7 season. I went round to their house. There's been like 3 or 4 games played. He hands me a toothpick. I can't make this up. Hands me a toothpick, and he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's a toothpick." He's like, "No, but what's the toothpick got?" I'm like, I don't know. He's like, "It's got 2 points, same amount as Arsenal have." And I'm just there, like, as a little 7, 8-year-old, like, okay, so this is life as an Arsenal fan.
You
But
go home to your mum crying, like, why did you do this to me?
like, what have you done to me, mum? But it's finally turning around. So yeah, loyalty pays off eventually, Luce.
No, 100%. And obviously you mentioned Henri there, and I feel like especially on this pod, I've had a lot of guests that are like, we love Henri. Like you said, he's a legend. I mean, there's a new series that Arsenal are doing on the Arsenal app where Rice, I think, is basically him just chatting to lots of Arsenal legends. And I know
Yeah.
the first one is going to be Thierry Henry. For you, like, why is Thierry Henry someone that you obviously idolise so much? And the fact that when he left, you sort of were like, okay, like for me, that was Arsenal. Why did you have that connection with him?
Good question. So there's so many facets to it. Mainly, the main reason is because of how good he was. I think it's accepted that Henry is probably the best Premier League player ever in terms of talent, ability, execution. I just thought he was exceptional as a player. He had that sort of French flair, that sort of confidence, almost arrogance, where he believed he was the guy. He used to walk around. He almost used to strut on the pitch, Henri. It felt like he was just sort of, it was his pitch and everyone was just there to make sure a game was on. So it was just, the way he carried himself just felt like proper, to be honest. And also, him being like a black football player actually just connected with me because, as you know, Arsenal have had a lot of sort of black players in their team in the early 2000s, like Vieira, Campbell, Loren, Torre. So I did feel that connection because you sort of can resonate with the team. And obviously, like, is in the sort of London, as that's where we were. In London, the culture around Arsenal is hugely influenced by the Caribbean. My family's from the Caribbean, so there is just sort of that connection. And Thierry Henry, he's got Caribbean heritage as well. So there's just that sort of connection with Henry that I think young black kids growing up, I mean, like, people older than me sort of had that of Ian Wright. And I guess Thierry Henry was that for my generation. So it's there's so many facets to it. But the main reason, Lucy, to be honest, is just how good he was. When I played football growing up, number 14 was the shirt number I'd always pick if I had a choice. So yeah, I just think he was just so good. I'm not sure. Well, we haven't had a player as good as him since. Hopefully, we'll get that. Max Diamond's coming through. Let's see.
You never know.
Yeah, not too much pressure. But yeah, Henri he just hit different back then.
No, definitely. I mean, like, when I look back at videos, because for me as an Arsenal fan, like, even though I'm 23, I didn't really watch the men, like, back then. So
Okay.
it's just what I see through videos and what I hear through people talking. And I'm like, yeah, like, you could tell that he such a good talent and could definitely do with him right now in this squad. Definitely as that out and out striker, someone that we need to just have that aura on the pitch, but also find the net. That's something that I feel like is probably one of the only few things that Arteta's missing from this current squad. And we can talk obviously about strikers in a little bit with that current squad. But I think also you make such an important point that I feel like I've heard a lot on this podcast, and I've spoken a lot about representation and how it's just so important to see yourself. Because I had Cecil, who's like obviously known more for AFTV, had him on a few months back, and he was saying that growing up he literally would shave his head and play that striker role because he was like, I'm Henri, like I want to be Henri. And obviously I had Luke, who obviously is our colleague at work, had him on as well, like a couple weeks back as well. And it was so funny because he was saying how obviously his name's Luke Henry, but he was saying that growing up he'd be like, it's actually Henri. And I was like, are you serious?
I've never asked him that, but That's something I would have done. Like, I don't blame him for that, by the way. I can't believe I never asked him that. I think I'm going to start calling him Luke Henry now, you know. Like, that's actually
Literally.
genius.
I was like, wait, is this real? Is this not? Because I've heard him say it at work before, and I was like, no, I'm going to put him on the spot and ask him on the pod. But I just think either way, it's so important when you look back at the Ian Wrights, the Alex Scotts, you see
Yeah.
yourself in them, which is just so
Well,
important.
Lucy, on that, I was going to say, like, even the Arsenal women's team at that time, they had like
Hmm.
Rachel Yankee, Alex Scott,
Yes.
like they had prominent black women football players at a time when it wasn't even really spoken about.
Hmm.
Kelly Smith obviously was a nine, and she was sort of quite a big part of the club because back before social media, I used to go on the website arsenal.com, and obviously you get to see all facets of the club, the academy, the women's, the men's
Hmm.
team, and I think that's sort of what Arsenal always felt like. It felt like a club for people, and it wasn't just about winning. It was more about the people at the club, the people associated with the club. They've always felt like a forward-thinking club. Probably
Hmm.
a big part of that's Arsene Wenger as well. So yeah, I always remember being proud of all parts of Arsenal, the academy, the women's, the men's. I know the women's team in '06 to like '10 were pretty much the best women's team in England. So yeah,
Hmm.
I've always just felt like Arsenal has been a welcoming club, a club that welcomes people from wherever you are, whoever you are, what you look like. So yeah, I've always just felt like Arsenal's a real club, to be honest.
It's definitely that one club idea, and I feel like obviously we see that more now when
Yeah,
we've got both the men and women playing at the Emirates. We've got obviously the women filling out as well as the men, and we've got so many collabs. I feel like social media has really come in clutch with all the collabs that you see, the
it's
likes
mad.
of Russo and Rice together. You've got Eze as well as Olivia Smith doing collabs. Like you've got so many players together joining, which just keeps that idea going. But you saying like Rachel Yankee, Alex Scott, that was the time where I started going to the games and I started seeing the best club obviously in England at that point, which definitely was Arsenal. And those players, honestly, they just shone through. And we're quite lucky that we've still got that representation and seeing Arsenal players both in punditry and obviously on the pitch. But with
Yeah.
Ian Wright and Alex Scott, it's so good that we can see people that have played the game at the highest levels now speaking in the highest levels, and doing really good at that. So obviously that's like really encouraging to see that. And I guess that sort of actually links nicely to what you're doing right now in the media because obviously um obviously we work together and I've mentioned that like quite a few times now, but for me when I first like met you, it was more okay, you like boxing, and I feel like I understood more like the idea that you were more of a boxing reporter and you worked in that rather than working necessarily in football. And then more
Yeah,
recently when I've seen you sort of branch out, and obviously you've got your channel as well, which we will plug at the end of this episode for sure, and
thank
obviously
you.
you're on like Inside Gooners and things like that. I'm like, oh, you're becoming more vocal about Arsenal, but obviously, yeah, it was more boxing. So I'm sort of, I feel like I'm actually just more curious than anything of how you firstly got into Talksport because you've been there for 5 years now, which firstly, congrats is mad.
Thank
But
you,
like,
Luce.
how did you actually get into Talksport, and like, why did you want to make that move from, okay, I've grown up as an Arsenal fan, do I actually want to work in the game or not?
Well, thank you, Lucy. Very kind words and great question. Well, we obviously met. Was it BComs or was it just a Talksport initiative when you
It
came
was
in?
just like a yeah, it was like a random open day. I think there was about maybe 5 to 10 names from my uni that
Yeah,
got picked, and then like loads of other random people, basically people that had just emailed. I feel like the managers, and then suddenly yeah, got put in a room and they selected like three of us or something. But yeah, it was
yeah,
quite a
that
cool
was
open
it.
day.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. So obviously that's how we met, and it's
Hmm.
funny you talk about that's how you saw me because that's sort of what I was doing. And when you came for the presentation, that was sort of the best thing to show you guys to show what you can do. And for me, I guess we'll start like why I got into it is I've always wanted to work in sport.
Hmm.
It's not even necessarily media for me. It's more sport. I love sport. Boxing, football, athletics are probably my main three sports. So I've always loved it. Growing up, played football, used to do sprinting. So I've just always loved being involved in it. And when it got to a point where I realised I'm probably not going to make money out of competing in sport, which was early, not going to do one of them.
Same
I
here, don't
injured.
worry.
Yeah, yeah. It's dark. It's not like I injured my knee and I didn't make it. I
Could have
knew I
gone pro.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a could have gone pro situ, but. So I just thought, how can I work in sport? Grew up watching Sky Sports News, a lot of the stuff there, YouTube. the likes of Poet, David Vianic, and then later on the sort of Chunks, Harry Pinero era. So I've always watched people who talk about sport, and then ironically, I saw TalkSport. I remember when AFTV, Robbie went into the studio and had his infamous row with Simon Jordan. I think I'd just left uni. I think I was out of uni for a year or so. Or it was just before COVID. I can't remember when that happened. But I remember watching it and thinking, I disagree with what Simon's saying, but I like that they're giving a platform for Robbie to go on and discuss it. So when I saw TalkSport, I was like, okay, cool. It just confirmed to me, because I studied journalism at uni. I came out of uni. I wasn't really sure if it was for me. And then after COVID and stuff, I just thought, yeah, let's just go for it. And stuff like that helped me go for it. And then, sorry, Luce, just a question. Just remind me of, was it why I'm changing from boxing to doing football content?
It's sort of more I feel like I actually firstly said like 10,000 questions. I'm like, wait,
It's all
I
right.
need to just hold up. I'm just getting so excited to find out your journey, obviously. But for me, it's more just like, how did you get to the point you are now where you're able to cover both boxing, but also talk on the platforms about Arsenal?
Okay, so with the boxing, so long story short, when I got into TalkSport, as you know, I was working on the sort of social media team. So TalkSport's YouTube and social media presence, it was a very small team. It was probably a team of 4 or 5 people. When I joined, I was probably the 6th or 7th person. And then obviously, like people like yourself, our team's massive now. The team's grown huge. And part of the growth was having a sub channel and a channel that's not just all about football, because we'd have loads of content about boxing, golf, rugby, whatever, and it would just go on the main channel. So I helped launch the boxing channel. So alongside myself, Pat, and a few others, we sort of led the boxing channel and sort of creating content around it. So I've been part of the TalkSport boxing channel since the first day it started, and to me, it's like a bit of a baby for me. I love it. And it's obviously taken me around the world. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. I've been to countries I never thought I'd go to. Last year I went to Ghana, Nigeria, Turkey, America twice. Went to Vegas and Miami. Like, these are just... When I say it feels normal, Lucy, yeah, but it is insane. Especially for me, I don't come from like much. I don't come from poverty, but these are not trips that I was just going on willy-nilly. So to get to be paid to do it is a blessing, I'll be honest. But the thing with boxing is I love it, but I live and breathe football. It is all I think about, to be honest. I woke up this morning, I'm instantly thinking Leverkusen, what am I doing? How's my day going around watching the game? So for me, Lucy, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more, it's just career progression. And I think I probably spoke to you about it when we first met, is the one thing I love about TalkSport and the media in general, which is different to other industries, is you really can do what you want to do as long as you work hard enough at it and you push. So for me, it's just a case of I can get bored quite easily. It's a problem of mine that I'm working on. But not to say I've gotten bored of the boxing, but I've just got this thing in me that's like, what's next? What else can I do? And I've always wanted to, we spoke off air, I've always wanted to talk about football. I've always wanted to interview. That's really my main goal, is to start interviewing athletes and people. Sort of what you're doing here. I love this concept. So yeah, I just love talking to people, to be honest, Lucy. So I got to a point with boxing where I'm like, it's good. Like, I'm going to Dublin this week for the boxing, but I've gotten to a point where it's like, I know boxing, but I don't know it off the back of my hand like football. So would I be as comfortable? I've done certain interviews, Lucy, in boxing, if I'm honest, where I'm like, I don't feel 100% comfortable in talking about what I'm asking, and I can't just go back to 2005 and reference that or to... Do you know what I mean? I don't have that knowledge base, whereas with football, I can sort of do that, reference loads of different things. So that's sort of the main reason why I'm trying to transition. I always want to be part of the boxing channel. I'd love to do interviews there, but for me, I just feel like football is a space where I can excel at. And to be honest, when you came in with that group of people and I'd done the talk, one thing you'll see, hopefully you don't see it too soon, but as you get older, you'll realise you lose a little bit of the spark. It's the novelty. You hear it all the time, the novelty wears off. and you think, what are you on about? This is my dream. Of course the novelty doesn't wear off. But after a while, you do get to a point where you start wanting more. You want different. You'll have it, Lucy. I'm convinced, because I know you. I know what you like. If you're doing similar things you're doing now in 3 or 4 years, it's probably a problem if you're not asking yourself what else is there, because you have to grow as a person in your career. So that's all it is, Lucy, for me. I think it's just I'm naturally trying to grow in some different places.
You know what? I feel like our mindset, especially hearing you talk then, I feel like I sort of knew it briefly, but especially what you're saying about firstly wanting to expand out, wanting to keep growing, because I feel like my biggest fear is just staying where I am. Not necessarily that you get bored, because obviously I feel like that sounds like, oh, you're not enjoying it. But I think for me, I'm someone that I need variety. Like, that's why right now, what my week looks like, a few days doing one role on socials, a few days doing another role, vision mixing. Like, I feel like I like to keep it different, because otherwise it becomes the same, like Monday to Friday, like 9 to 5. Obviously that's not what happens in sport, but that's sort of hours of like repetition and definitely things like that. And I think it's so good what you're saying there of like knowing your worth, but then also knowing when you need to say yes to opportunities. And I think it's so like in this industry there's a lot of entitlement, definitely, like, oh, I think I should be doing this, I think I should be doing that. And it's kind of like you've got to obviously voice these things, but then I definitely feel like if I look at since I graduated, that whole year since graduating a couple of years back, I was basically saying yes to everything. I was doing early morning shifts, waking up at like 2, 3 a.m. in the mornings to do those shifts. Then I'd go to different programs, obviously, then volunteer at different things. And I was doing so much. And now I feel like I'm slowly trying to get to the point where I'm not doing as much. But then even doing like this podcast, I'm doing this before I have my like 2 to 10 shift tonight. So it's so like,
I respect that so much.
It's constant. And I feel like that's good, because it would definitely separate you. And like, I feel like we're definitely the same vibe of you just got to keep working hard and something definitely will pay off. But you mentioned it sort of just before a few questions ago, but obviously there's a difference with knowing your worth and then actually just wanting to take the opportunities. But like for you, saying yes to things, do you feel like that's something that you did a lot, and do you regret maybe saying yes to everything, or are you like, oh no, I had to? Or any sort of advice around that, because it is so easy to fall in the trap of, if I don't say yes to this, then I'm never going to get asked again, and that's scary.
Yeah, Lucy, man, you got some good questions in there. I don't know.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head at this point.
Yeah, nice. That is, you got me thinking. I mean, listen, I am a person that always thinks you're better giving it a go than not, and then thinking what would have happened if I did. So I always try and do more than less, because if you, especially in our industry, you don't know what doors might open. So like, if I came into the industry with the hat on that I'm a presenter, I interview, this is what I do, I might not have had the opportunity to go to the places I've seen. And at the end of the day, life is about memories and enjoying it. And I've enjoyed the things I've done in boxing, the trips I've had. Even like when I started at Talksport, you said you got your 2 till 10 shift. I used to do the 3:30 till midnight shift with Tom Scholes. Shouts out Scholesy. Me and him used to do that shift together. I've probably done that for 2.5, 3 years. And it's like, do I regret saying yes to doing that? No. Like at the time, it did feel like a wrong decision. Some of my friends would be doing stuff on like Friday nights, and I'd be like, well, I'm working my shift, like I'm working my late shift. And I was almost bad at saying, no, I can't do it. But I think it served me well in the long run, sticking out at doing those sort of graveyard shifts, as they call them. So for me, it's like, even like when I had the chance to speak to you and your sort of contingent, it was like, I've done public speaking at school in terms of like in assemblies and stuff like that. But since being at Talksport, I'd never done like a speech in front of young people like that and telling them like how I got into the industry and stuff like that. But I just thought, yeah, why not do it? So I would always say, especially at a young age, like when you're in your sort of early to late 20s, you've got a lot more time to make up if that yes is wrong. So I always tell people, don't fear saying yes, fear saying no, because if you get in the habit of saying no, you're always just cherry picking what you do. You're never going to learn. You might do vision mixing and love it. You might hate it, but if you don't do it, you'll never know. You might edit and love or hate it. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's just about putting yourself in that position to see. And also, as I sort of said earlier, is like being comfortable feels good, but is it good? Is it good to be comfortable? Sometimes, yeah, when you're trying to go to sleep and you want to have a good night's rest, then yeah, you want to be comfortable. But day to day, week in, week out, like my missus tells me off, I'm not happy with just being comfortable. It doesn't, I don't know, maybe it's a problem. It's a bit of a gift and a curse, but yeah, it was sort of all links. Like, I wouldn't say saying yes is always a good thing, but 9 times out of 10, you'll learn something about yourself, which is why I always say to people, just say yeah and see what happens.
100%, 100%. I feel like just staying in your comfort zone should almost be more scary than actually getting out your comfort zone. But it's so much easier said than done. I think even when you talk about this talk you did, that's you stepping out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And even me being sat in that room, that was me stepping out my comfort zone, because I was like, oh my God, what is this journey that potentially could happen? But I think it's definitely, like you said, say yes to as much as you can, but obviously maybe know your limits and like burn out. And hopefully there's more conversations like this happening where people are entering the industry knowing that, right, Friday nights you'll probably be working, like I work Friday nights till 10, so you can't go out, but then also you're working in sports, so are you going to be at the game, or are you going to be working from the studio, or what are you going to be doing? It's sort of, I think if people are realistic about the industry, because there's so many pros to it, but also you're going to make a few sacrifices that maybe people your age that aren't working in it. So I think it's more just being realistic, and I feel like everything you said is obviously completely realistic with it. And I guess ultimately just wrapping up this little section of like working in the industry, for you, is there any like one piece of advice that maybe you've heard or that you just think from your experiences in the industry that you'd be like to anyone just starting out, if anyone's listening or watching, that you're like, yeah, actually this is what you can do?
In terms of like creating opportunities, or just in terms of like how to approach it? Because it's a cutthroat industry, Lucy. So, like what I always say to people in terms of approaching it and how you navigate is be prepared to be told no. Like, and it's don't fear rejection is what I'd say. Don't fear, because before I got in TalkSport, I'd been told no by companies that like people had never heard of, media companies I'd never heard of, that were very much like production based. And I started thinking like, am I good enough? Like, why am I not getting in? And it's like, you can't fear that rejection. So if you are being told no, don't fear that. Like you just said, Luce, it's a competitive industry. There's people like yourself, there's people like me, people we work with. There's so many talented people who work in the industry that it's probably not because you're not good enough. It's probably because they just can't facilitate it for yourself right now. So I always advise people to not let a no shape how they see themselves. But then in terms of like opportunity, I think I said this when you come in for that chat, is come in with like a target and a skill set. This is what you've been really good at. I do think it's a type of person that's adaptable. Like the fact you can just be like, oh, I'll do vision mixing, oh, I'll do editing, oh, I'll talk, I'll present. Like it's quite a rare thing to be able to just drop in and be like, oh, I'll do that. So you're quite lucky. I guess I'm quite lucky that we can just sort of try our hand at things and pick it up quite quickly. If you're not one of those type of people who can sort of just bounce in between doing different things, try and nail down a skill set. You look at people who work in trade, you have plumbers, you have brickies, you have electricians. I sort of see the media in a similar way, where you've got people who can write shows, you've got people who edit it physically, you've got people who can do the directing, people who vision mix. You know this. There's so many different roles, people who present. You just need to find which role. Simplify it, I always say. Less is more. Simplify it. Okay, so there's a presenter on screen. Someone's got to film that presenter. Someone's got to get that camera shot into a program. There's so many roles to do that. I think there's a place for almost everyone. So that would be my advice, is don't think, oh, well, that doesn't work for me, it works for them, so I'm not good enough. There might be another role that you're better than that person at. You just have to keep going and give it a try, really.
100%. I feel like that is probably the best advice you could give, because I feel like it is just keep trying, just sort of see where it takes you. And I feel like we're all sort of like making it up as we go along. Like I'm not gonna lie, I feel like everyone's sort of just trying to figure out where to go. I definitely
But
feel.
Luce, you say that. Sorry to cut you, but you know what it is. You've got the gift and the curse. Is that you'll probably never be fully satisfied, like because of
This has
how
turned
much.
into therapy.
Yeah, like I mean, maybe we should change the name of the pub, but it's like you've got this thing where I can relate to you that you're always looking for more and like you're not always happy in terms of like, oh, this is good, I'm happy with this. It's like this is good, but what else is there? And it's like if you have that, my advice to those people is bide your time, use the time, don't rush, because I feel like there's a balance to that. There's a balance of not rushing, but also not getting comfortable. Like I've said, there's sort of like a repeated theme here. Is know what you want, chase it. Don't get too downbeat. I'm guilty of it sometimes, Lucy, if I'm honest. Don't get too downbeat when opportunities aren't coming your way. Sometimes you just have to pivot, go somewhere else, and then an opportunity might open up there. So that's what I'd say to people like yourself and me who are doing this, because there's a lot of people. There's people on our team who won't, who are doing the same shift as you, but aren't doing their own podcast in the morning. Like you don't need to do this, but something within you is telling you this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So keep that drive, keep that pushing you. Don't let that drive stop you, because it can. Because if you're not getting what you feel you've worked towards or what you want, it can be disheartening, but all you can actually do is just keep going and try and enjoy the process. There's one thing before I got into the industry I'd always say to myself is enjoy the process, and I thought the process was just getting into the industry. And once I got in, because none of my friends that I grew up with really work in the media, so to them I've got like a really cool job. And it was sort of like, now that I'm at Talksport, it's sort of like, not that you've done it, but it's like, it's pretty sick, innit? Like, I don't know what your friendship group from home's like, but to work in the job we do is quite cool. It's quite unique. So you have to embrace that in itself. But once you're in, your feet aren't under the table yet. You're in, but there's so much more growth to do.
Yeah, no, I think I'm the same in terms of friendship wise. Like a lot of my friends, obviously my friends from uni, we all went to a football business uni,
Yeah.
so a lot of them are working at the likes of Sky or at football clubs in the Premier League, in the WSL. So I'm quite lucky that a lot of my close friends that I've made from uni understand the shift patterns, understand my passion. Like we all get each other in our lifestyles. But definitely my friends that I've got, like some friends from school, some friends from nursery and stuff like that, none of them really care about sport. So firstly, they don't really understand necessarily what's going on. But it's quite nice because I think it's sort of, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I just spoke to this person. And I go to them, they're like, who's that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, humbling. But also like, that's quite nice because then they might say, like some of them work in sort of like the music industry and they say about people, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about sort of
Yeah.
vibe. So it's actually really nice when you can sort of have your own passions, but definitely it is very cool. It's pretty cool like where we're at, and I think definitely embracing the journey. It's so tricky to do, like it's so much easier said than done. And even going back to what you said about rejection, I feel like the quote of rejection is redirection is always in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that. When I get rejected, I'm not thinking of that quote. I'm like, what is going wrong? Like,
Yeah.
what do I need to do? So it's sort of,
It's
it's so
easier
much,
said than done.
100%. And I think looking back, especially like you were saying, I was getting job rejections when I was starting, like I think 3 months into Talksport, I suddenly got like an email. It was like, sorry, you didn't get this job. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I even applied for this. Like
Yeah.
all these jobs I was still getting rejected from. And I was like, how's that even happened?
But
I think
you place so much weight on them. Like if you haven't got the Talksport opportunity, that job rejection can like ruin your day. It can. But like you said, because you had something else to focus on, that's the other. It's the thing of like, you know, they say don't put all your eggs in one basket. There is a big wide world out there. So if it doesn't work in this place, it's not to say it won't work somewhere else. So yeah,
no, it's true.
It's that thing of constant believing in yourself, telling yourself you can do it. It's positive affirmation. You have to be, because I always say if you don't want it, no one else will. So someone's got to do it, and it's got to be you. It's tough, but we're tough. We're built a good stuff, and you just like there are going to be rough days, Luce. Like you're quite a positive person. I like that about you. You've got like a good energy where you probably hide your disappointment very well. So yeah, if you are, don't ever feel like you can't talk about it, but don't let it consume you. Never let
Yeah.
them thoughts consume you, and you'll be good.
To be fair, I think everything comes back, for me anyways, it always comes back to your support network and who do you have around you. And ultimately, I don't know how long we've been talking about the industry, which never normally goes on this long, but I just feel like I'm loving this conversation because I don't know about anyone listening or watching, but I feel so inspired and so
No.
uplifted by like this chat and naturally just being realistic with it. Obviously, we're both positive with our mindsets and always trying to push forwards and things like that. But I think also you've got to be realistic and know that not every day of the week you're going to feel amazing. Like
Facts.
things come and go. So yeah, I wish we could actually chat about this forever. And I feel like definitely probably next time I see you in the office, I feel like I want to have more chats like this because definitely
You know
it
where
just
I
makes
am,
you
Luce.
it makes you feel good and seen, which I think is so important. Linking back to that support network. Just moving back to Arsenal because I feel like we need to definitely talk about it because obviously it's the Arsenal Humans pod.
Of
I
course.
kind of just want to get your thoughts on the season as a whole. I feel like it's been a pretty good season as a whole. There were a few shaky moments. Obviously, I mentioned in the intro when we went into the office, and I just remember looking at you and I was like, I just don't even want to talk because we just lost against United. And then you've got this narrative that everyone creates about, oh my God, like Arsenal are going to bottle it. This is not working. In those moments, because I actually feel like there's been quite a few when we've drawn against sides that we shouldn't have recently or we've lost, despite us still being top of the league, especially now we've extended it by 7 points or probably 4 points if City inevitably win their game in hand. For you, did you ever think, oh my God, this is going to go all wrong? Like, did you ever actually panic and worry in those moments where it maybe didn't go our way? Or did you think, you know what, Arsenal were top, we're fine? Like, where's your sort of mindset with Arsenal and the league in particular?
I'm always panicking, Lucy. If you want me to be honest, I'm never really comfortable watching Arsenal. Like I'm sitting here now, I'm a little bit nervous about the game tonight, but at the same time, I think we'll probably score at least 4 goals. Look, growing up and just watching Arsenal over the last 10 or so years, it hasn't really resulted in a lot of success. So naturally, I've gotten used to us getting close but not close enough. So when we lost to United, I thought, oh no, here we go again. It's January. Man City signed Gyokeres and Semenyo. Wanyeri went out on loan a few weeks later. I'm thinking, this just smacks of end of the season. Why did we do this? Why didn't we do that? Thankfully, it hasn't gone that way. And in terms of like, do I get nervous or how do I see the sort of when the downsides come with Arsenal? It's like, because it's such a passionate and emotional sport, I can't help but feel down when we lose and really up when we win. So when you do lose, especially to a rival like Man United, and we know the fan culture online, I've got a lot of Man United friends, it's just the embarrassment and the longness of having to get bantered for like a week. And you know, fair play to Man United, they've done well. But yeah, like, I'll be honest, I was worried then, but now I'm extremely confident. I think this could be a very exciting end to the season, Lucy. Like, I'm very confident. So yeah, I feel a lot better than when we saw each other on that Monday.
No, 100%. I think anyone would feel better than that time because I do feel like the confidence that you're oozing and that you're expressing, it feels nice because I'm like, yeah, actually, we should be confident. And I feel like I'm quite optimistic in life in general. So with Arsenal, I'm like, well, we're like right now it's our title that we've got our hands on and it's whether other teams want to show up.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people are saying, oh, it's City's like to lose. And I'm like, but when you look at points, like when you just like take your emotions and your feelings away from it, when you look at the table, it's in our hands and it's sort of down to what we want to do. And we are still in that conversation for like the quadruple, which for me kind of feels a bit mad because...
Don't say it, Luce, the dreaded Q word.
No,
She said it.
I've said it, guys, I've jinxed it. No, but even saying it, I'm like, it just feels so stupid to say it. But then I'm like, that's only because of the culture around Arsenal and because we know, like you said, with us, our history, especially the last few seasons of, okay, we get so close, we're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It's always that sort of narrative that is definitely created that I'm like, oh, we're kind of scared to say quadruple. But if we saw any team, regardless of like their history or who they are, that are top of the Premier League, that are excelling in the Champions League, obviously on paper got maybe an easier draw, same for the FA Cup, in the final for the Carabao Cup, we are realistically meant to be in that conversation. For me,
Facts.
I think just getting any piece of silverware is amazing. Like that would just, I think that would not only keep Arteta in his job, that will restore faith in Arsenal.
Do you know what, though, Lucy? I don't think so. I
What,
think
one piece of silverware?
it's not enough. I'll be honest. Like if he wins the Carabao Cup and we don't win anything else, it's not going to be nice, Lucy. And I hate to say it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not going to be happy. I don't know. Would you be happy with just the Carabao Cup from
See,
from this position we're in?
See, with this, I feel like it's more based on what silverware. Like when I'm saying
Yeah.
it, I think automatically in my head, I'm like Premier League plus maybe something else.
Yeah.
Because I think at this stage, when you look at the points we've got, when you look at the games we've got left and like the teams, even City, I think they've probably dropped more points than I think anyone would have expected them to
Oh yeah.
this season. And there were so many opportunities where they probably could have gone above us, but they didn't take it. For me, I'm like, everything is written for Arsenal to win the Premier League. So for me, in my head, I'm like, if Arteta wins just the Premier League, take all the other three trophies away,
Yeah, I agree.
that should be enough. But I definitely think that if he does win like the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, it's annoying that it's still silverware, but it's annoying that we almost rank them. And I don't think a lot of fans would be happy with that. But for me, I'm sort of like, yeah, in terms of obviously quadruple or just any silverware in general, what are your sort of thoughts on it and almost what needs to keep Arteta in a job and Arsenal as a respected club, I guess?
I think a quadruple isn't necessary. It's not like the be all and end all. I mean, it'd be great. I think we'd be able to. We could
No
like,
complaints.
yeah, like you can't complain at that. No other team could ever sort of talk down on us if we do that. We'd obviously be the first and only English club to do the quadruple. So listen, I don't think it's going to happen. Only because the FA Cup. I think the FA Cup we might just tail off in the FA Cup or Champions League. I'm confident in the league, mainly because of what you said about City dropping more points than I expected. They've got more tough games. Their cup games are very tough. So I'm I'm very confident in the Premier League that we should win it. And the reason I think the Premier League's the most important is because we haven't won it in over 20 years. It's more or less our whole lifetimes that we haven't won the Premier League. It's a long time, quarter of a century almost. So I think when you win your country's first division title, that is like a bigger statement than arguably the Champions League. I think the Champions League, you saw it with Tottenham in the Europa League last season. They obviously won that, and then you see the struggles they're dealing with this season. Winning European trophies are very good. We've obviously never won the Champions League or Europa League, but I feel like the Premier League will just give the club that confidence that they need. So, yeah, I'm quite confident we'll end the season with at least 2, Lucy. I need 2. Can I get 2? I just need 2 trophies.
I think we can manifest it at least, so let's do that.
I'll take. Listen, Premier League and Carabao or Premier League and FA Cup is a great season. Double. I think it puts Arteta very close to legendary status as well. By the way, if he gets a double, because no one's done it for a long time. Yeah, I think it's a huge end of the season for these players and Arteta. This could be like the start of a great 3-4 year period for the club as well, I think.
Exactly. I think it's also about building for the future as well. And I think obviously Arteta, the last few years, he's been creating this team, and now it's like all credit will go pretty much to him. Obviously the players he's got involved as well for having that idea. You briefly just then touched upon Spurs getting relegated and obviously not having the best season, and even though they've won like silverware last year, it's sort of not really gone their way this year. I got this question a lot, and I don't know if it's because when I'm surrounded by a lot of Spurs fans, they're always chatting about relegation.
You're
and they
literally surrounded, by the way.
It's crazy.
Like, I feel sorry for you. Is it like 6 out of like 8 or 9 people on your desk Tottenham fans?
Yeah. And like genuinely, most of the conversation is about either they're mocking the club or they're like, okay, realistically, like, what would we do when we're in the Championship? And I'm like, oh my God, like everyone's so negative. And obviously I'm sat there like laughing. And when obviously that day you came over and saved me from the conversation by starting like having more Arsenal backup, I was like, thank God for that. But a question that I feel like I get kind of a lot from them, and for me, it's a stupid question. If anything, when I reversed it back on them, it was a lot harder. But the question I get, and I'm going to ask you anyway, even though it's so stupid, is would you rather Arsenal win the title or Spurs get relegated?
Lucy, tough question. I don't know why you're doing this to me. Because you know what
No,
it
but
is.
how's that a tough question?
Because no, do you know why it's a tough question? Because I don't think we realise this is a nasty question from you. Because what was it Sonny
Sorry.
said? Sonny said it's more embarrassing if we don't win anything than if Spurs get relegated, which is insanity to me. Because getting relegated is that bad. Like getting relegated, Lucy, is so bad that it almost outdoes us winning the league in terms of how can you get relegated with that team? Like they've just built a brand new stadium. They've spent more money than us since Arteta's been in the job. They won the Europa League last season. Relegation, like I don't think people truly.
No. So the thing is, I hear it, but when I'm hearing it from Spurs fans saying that,
Yeah,
I'm like, it's deflection, it's all projection, because
yeah,
right now they're like, oh my God, like, yeah, maybe relegation is looking quite inevitable, but oh, if you guys bottle the league. And I'm like, what? Like, why is that coming back at us? Because in my head, it's harder to win the league anyways.
agreed.
And yes, we should win it. And I do think that no matter what happens in the relegation battle with whoever goes down, it would be really humbling if suddenly Arsenal didn't get over the line this time when I feel like this is probably the perfect opportunity to win the Premier League for us.
Yeah,
But I just I don't get, I'm like, focus on yourself. So like for me, when I threw the question back on them, I was like, what would you rather? Like, would you rather get relegated and like Arsenal not win? And I feel like that's a harder question. Whereas for me, I'm like,
yeah.
in the future, when people look back at that trophy, whose name will they see on it?
It's
Or
Arsenal.
that, yes, we'll talk about it, like Spurs getting relegated if that happens, because that would be funny. Ideally, both can happen. But yeah, I just found it a mad
Now, do you know it
question.
is? To be honest, I'd obviously rather us win the league, but the reason why it's such a tough question is, in simple like mathematic terms, I don't know if you like a bet, but the odds on Tottenham to get relegated, I would imagine would have been something like 150, 200 to 1. The odds of us winning the league were probably like 2 to 1 at most. Like we were probably favourites for the league, or Liverpool would have been, then we would have been second. So that's the only reason why I say it to you, Lucy, is I think this is like a once in a lifetime thing, similar to Leicester
Yeah.
winning the league. This is like, and you obviously saw the result last night. They're bad. They're in a bad place because the players don't look like they're playing for each other. They're in an awful place. And I thought, like, shouts at Johnny, who works on our team, when he used to say to me in like January, December, we're going down, I'd look at him and be like, it's just Johnny being Johnny. But they genuinely might get relegated to the Championship, Lucy. Like, that is
Try
awful.
not to smile too much, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
You're like, yeah, and basically.
Yeah, so this even talking about it just makes me
Yeah.
laugh. So, but I would pick us winning the league, and yeah, Tottenham have another year in the Prem. We'll let you off.
You know what, to be fair, I think with your answer, I definitely do feel like your perspective is true in that it would be so good if Spurs got relegated. Like, it would be funny, but also that it's just like, it'd be crazy because I don't think that going down to the Championship, they'd automatically be guaranteed to come straight back up, especially
Yeah,
when you look at all the financial issues that would cause and all the players, inevitably, a lot of them, I'm pretty sure like 90% of them would leave
yeah,
because they wouldn't want to compete in that league. So I think it would definitely be a lot for the club. For me as an Arsenal fan, I'm like, right, we've got to focus on ourselves and then maybe we can look to like that. But if both happen, that would
ah,
honestly be insane.
ah.
So I guess we sort of just have to see how that turns out. Just because of time and everything, I feel like we could talk forever, definitely about this season and all the ins and outs and who's impressed us and stuff. But I'm just going to wrap it up by playing a little game. I feel like I just do a different game for each, like nothing major, too stressful. This is
Nice.
literally just a play bench sell, and it's with the current squad because I feel like that's one debate that's been going on throughout the season of who do you start, what is your lineup. Arsenal have such a strong bench,
Yeah,
as well as the players on the pitch, that I feel like we have multiple choices for each position. That I was like, this is probably a good game, especially now when we've got more strikers back. I feel like that should be quite good.
no,
So
nice.
there's only 3 play bench sales that I'm just gonna list off the names and then tell me your thoughts with them if that's all good.
Of course.
So the first one, we're going to start with the defenders. Start with the back line. Who would you rather play, bench, and sell out of Mosquera, Nkapie, and Lewis Skelly?
Oh my goodness,
I've gone with players that
Lucy.
don't usually make it into the starting 11 like guaranteed. So
That is a disgusting start bench sell. I honestly don't know where to go with that one. Oh my goodness, Mascara, Hincapié, or Lewis Skelly. Oh, what have you done to
you can
me?
phone a friend if you need to. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think any friends are gonna help me here. Um, oh, you know what? This is so nasty. You're not gonna clip this up, are you?
This is the only thing I'm going to clip up from this whole. No, I'm
Oh,
joking.
brilliant! No, brilliant.
I'm joking. No, I won't. I won't.
You
Also,
know
you
what?
can't be wrong with this because it's all opinion. That's one thing with me. I hate when it's like quizzes of what player played in 1921, and I'm like, I
Ah,
don't know. So like,
yeah.
this is all opinion based. So you're all good.
Okay, Mascara, Hincapié, or Lewis Skelly. I mean, I've said it about 10 times. I'm just delaying. I would,
I know.
if you want me to be brutally honest, as of today, March the 11th, start Hincapié, bench Mascara, sell Lewis Skelly. And I feel so bad saying that. I honestly feel awful. I don't want to sell Lewis Skelly, but I would rather keep
What you
Hincapié and
could do,
Mascara.
find a little loophole, is just like sell him on loan because I feel like he's one of the players that's like up and coming. Obviously, I feel like his first couple seasons in the first team, like phenomenal, kind of like Max Dowman vibe. Also,
Yeah.
even Waneri's sort of on the similar route when they're so young, and then you sort of are like, okay, if you go to another club, find it. I don't know why I'm trying to like back you up with this, but I feel like that could work.
No, I'm liking that. We'll loan Skelly, not sell him. I like that.
Yeah,
If I'm allowed. If I'm allowed.
I'll
I
just
think
change
that.
the whole name of the game for you. It's fine.
Thank you. I think that would actually help him. By the way, just off of that, Lewis Skelly, I think would do very well at a loan. I think if he went to like Everton,
hmm
Fulham, Brighton, Brentford, that sort of mid-table club challenging for Europe, I think that would be perfect for him.
100%. And I feel like that's something we see a lot. I mean, looking at the women's side, Michelle Adjumang went to Brighton
Yeah,
and then she basically, like, obviously from Arsenal, loanee player, and then it basically set her up so nicely to go and win the Euros and be
yeah.
the young player of the tournament, because she did that. So I feel like definitely there are options to do that. And
Because how
obviously, like,
old was she? 18 when she went on loan.
I think, yeah, she was late teens, even like, yeah, 18, 19,
She was
20,
very
something like
young,
that.
so similar to Lewis Skelly, where there's actually no rush for them to be starting
Yeah,
games for Arsenal. So I do get that. I do
exactly.
get that.
Exactly. The second one, we're moving to the midfielders, moving to
Oh,
the
here
middle
we
of the
go.
pitch.
Here we
So,
go.
yeah, to be fair, here we go with this one. Rice, Zubimendi, and Erdegaard.
Now this one's easier for me.
Really?
This
Okay.
is weirdly easier for me, Lucy, and it's easy because Rice to start out of them three. Declan
Mhm.
Rice, what a player! I've been lucky enough to meet him a few times. I actually interviewed him when I was at university and when he was at West Ham. Do you know SE Dons, the
Yeah, yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
team? So he's obviously quite a big supporter of them. I was doing a documentary on SE Dons in their Kent Cup final in Maidstone, and Declan Rice came down. He was hiding in the top of the stands. I managed to track him down and interview him, and he gave me like 5 minutes. Didn't need to. And then I saw him again at Ben Eubank Jr. last April and spoke to him for like 30 seconds, got a picture. And he actually remembered the game. I'm not going to say he remembered the chat. He sort of said, yeah, I remember the interview. But Declan Rice, great guy, even better football player, to be honest, which I don't know how is possible. Start him.
That's
Bench
such a
him.
cool story, by the way. That is so cool.
No, it's mad, Lucy. And obviously, he was at West Ham at the time. So for him to join Arsenal years later,
I
yeah.
want to know what you spoke about in that 5 minute chat because maybe you're like, by the way, like I think you should come to Arsenal, and then you've just helped that.
I mean, do I take credit? I got Lucy in at Talksport, Rice in at Arsenal. You know, I'm pulling. No, I don't
You're
think I
making things
mentioned.
happen.
We're trying, Lucy. I don't think I mentioned Arsenal back then, but I was definitely fanboying him a bit. And he's younger than me, so I'm not proud to say it, but we move.
You can fanboy, fangirl about anyone. It's all good.
No, you can, you can. So yeah, start Rice, bench Zubimendi, and sell Odegaard. Now, I know what you're going to ask me. Why? The reason is,
I feel like I don't need to. I think you're gonna tell me anyways.
yeah, I'm going to tell you anyway, Lise.
I'm gonna tell you.
I think Odegaard is great. I actually love him, and I want nothing more than to see him lifting the Premier League at the end of the season. I think it's everything he deserves. He's been a huge part. I was lucky enough to be at, well, I say lucky. I went to Man City Arsenal 3 or 4 seasons ago when we lost 5-0, and Xhaka got sent off. And I remember sitting there, I was there for TalkSport, and I remember thinking, Arteta's going to get sacked. And I just remember looking at the pitch thinking, this is it. But Odegaard, it always resonated with me. Odegaard and Kieran Tierney were running everywhere. Those two were playing their hearts out. And we all know how much we love Kieran Tierney. So, yeah, Odegaard deserves it. But I just think it's come to a point when we could move past him, which sounds so savage. And I actually feel a little bit bad saying it, but I just think it's time to move on. I thought the same with Trossard last season. And it's okay. I think it's okay to move on sometimes in life and improve. So, yeah, that's why I'd sell Odegaard out of them three.
I definitely do feel like there's been a debate. I think especially with the rise of Rice, basically, in the squad. He's such a leader. And you saw that at West Ham, but you're definitely seeing that more now. He's just grown into himself, it feels like. And then, obviously, with Odegaard, maybe his performances haven't been as good. Obviously, injuries this season as well. He's a bit more inconsistent. There definitely has become this debate. And for as far as I'm aware, like what you're saying, I'd love to see Odegaard lift that trophy at the end of the season or any trophy. And we've got to go off the season right now. And I think with Rice, even, I can't remember what game it was, but Rice literally was like pointing at Odegaard like, this is our captain.
Yeah.
That sort of energy. And I think not only does that show that in the future Rice is going to be a great leader because he knows what to do in those situations and he knows how to interact with the public and like the fans.
Yeah.
But I think it just proved like, yeah, this is the season. This is our captain right now. End of the season, we don't know what's going to happen. But with that play bench sale, I do feel like that's sort of the route that I'd probably take with that. And the last one, I feel like this was probably the inevitable, like the striker debate that we've got with all the forwards at Arsenal. Play bench sale, Jesus, Gyokeres and Havertz.
Yeah, see, now this is harder in terms of the other end. I'd start with, I'd sell Gabby Jesus. I think he's been a great servant to the club. Yeah. Another player who probably deserves to lift a trophy for us. He sort of started the new title challenge in Arsenal with the likes of Zinchenko, Xhaka. So, yeah, sells Jesus, I think, for obvious reasons. Now, this is where it gets tough. I'm a big fan of Gyokeres. I really wanted him in the summer. But I can't help but think Kai Havertz is better than him. But I really like Gyokeres, Luce. So I'm going to start Gyokeres and bench Havertz. And do you know why? I think Gyokeres, there's something in there, Luce. I refuse to accept that he's a dud. Because you see the likes of Rory Jennings, and I know Rory, I know he's a bit hyperbolic with it and he goes a bit over the top. But we got people calling him a donkey and saying he's useless. Even Arsenal fans saying we should sell him. You talk, like, the name of this podcast is the Arsenal Humans podcast. And there's something about the person of Victor Gyokeres, his story of rejection and then coming back, rejection, coming back. I really like his story of him starting off a small club in Sweden, goes on a journey, gets to Brighton, doesn't make it there, goes to Coventry, goes to Sporting, now he's at Arsenal. I just respect the journey. So I think Gyokeres can come good, and yeah, that's why I'd start him over Havertz. And I think playing Havertz's old club tonight, Leverkusen, obviously this will come out at a later date, but I think I'll be surprised if they both don't start together tonight.
That's another thing with strikers. I feel like it's obviously, I mean, for the benefit of this game, you can only start one of them. But I do feel like with managers a lot, they are always thinking, okay, we can only start one.
Yeah.
And it's something like going off a bit, but it's something that I remember with Jonas Edeval for the women's side a couple seasons ago, and he was only ever starting one player up top. And the minute he started two, it like unlocks this whole like, oh, okay, we can find the net, we can do this, we open it up more at the top. And I feel like that's something that definitely could work. Also, I feel like Havertz is quite a good game changer. Like, he definitely changes the tempo of the game. Yeah. So even if we say bench, but like he's actually a sub, like he'll come on, then that obviously works as well. And yeah, with Gyokeres, like we can't rule it out just yet. I feel like everything he's done so far, yes, he's had games that we're like, right, okay, come on, what was that? But then it's just working what players work well with him, because maybe if Saka's cutting back, then he doesn't know where to go, and there's all this confusion, whereas Havertz kind of is able to cut back. So I think it's just the players around you as well, and whether you fit the system. And then sadly, what you said about Jesus, I feel like obviously since his ACL injuries and stuff like that, he's just not been the player that he was, which is obviously sad, and we don't want to sell anyone right now anyways, but I feel like inevitably we'll probably have more conversations like this in the summer, depending on how the season goes as well, because I feel like that will be a good indicator of like who will we sell, who we want to get in. But yeah, ultimately I feel like that was a pretty decent play bench sale. I feel like we had a lot of ad-lib, like little stories, anecdotes in there as well.
No, I enjoyed that.
I quite enjoyed that. To just sort of wrap up the episode. Obviously, you've mentioned a lot about working at TalkSport, so with the channels, like Inside Gooners as well, which anyone can obviously see you on there. But is there any of your own channels that you'd like to plug as well? And I'll add it all in the description below.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, Lucy. This is one of the most refreshing conversations I've had in a long time. I didn't even feel like we were recording, but yeah, brilliant. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. You can find me anywhere. Just search my name, Romario Webster. That's my YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We're trying. We're just working. That's all you can do in life is try. As Lucy said, you see me on TalkSport in various places. So yeah, like, subscribe, and follow the journey, people.
100%. And I feel like what we mentioned earlier, it's so important to have your own brand, and I feel like you're definitely ticking those boxes across a variety of platforms, which is so good to see. So if anyone wasn't aware of Romario, you definitely need to go and check out all of that stuff now. But yeah, thanks so much, because I feel like I'm the same with this, feeling very refreshed from this conversation. It's quite nice to have like a realistic chat about the industry, but also Arsenal, but also just feel quite positive and know that we can say we're not jinxing it. Like, we actually don't have an input. It's down to the players.
It's our year, Lucy.
And the stuff. So
it's our year. I've said it.
You know what? It's our year is how we're going to end this episode. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for watching if you have.